guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Ella, and today I thought I would film a little project vlog because I decided to make some mittens for my grandma for Christmas. Specifically, I decided to make, I think her name is Erica Hauser, her songbird mittens. And yeah, when I first saw this design, I instantly fell in love with it. I fell in love with like the bird and the intricate color work, and I really wanted to make my own for my grandma because my grandma loves birds. She has like all of this bird related memorabilia like cups and paintings and sculptures and all sorts of things, so I thought she would appreciate this design. But yeah, so this video will just be showing my process of making these mittens. I also knit these mainly when I was down the coast in Australia, so I include some clips of my time there and some time lapses of me knitting. Super exciting. So yeah, but before we get into that, just to speak a little bit about materials, I use the Drops Flora yarn. This is a wool and alpaca blend. It is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. This is an extremely inexpensive yarn. I think I spent like 10 euros on the whole project, including the needles and 2 balls of this in 2 different colors. So super inexpensive. And yeah, this is not like the best quality yarn. It's not the warmest, it's not the softest, but I find that it does the job and it works really well in these mittens. And I chose these 2 colors, purple and white, super high contrast so that you can easily see the bird design. But yeah, I still have so much left over. I'm not completely done with the second mitten. I'm filling this a little bit into the process, but yeah, I'll easily finish with this much yarn left. And for my needles, I use 2.25mm sock needles for most of it, and then 2.25 DPNs for the decreases and like the thumb and those smaller areas. And the pattern actually calls for 2.75mm needles, but I saw someone on YouTube, I'll put her video in the description, but I saw someone on YouTube do a project vlog of these mittens with this exact yarn and needles, and hers just turned out so beautiful. And I'm like still very much a beginner in like finding and deciding on wool and needles and stuff, so I just followed her and it turned out really well. So I would also recommend that combination. And I think if I would have done the 2.75mm needles, the gloves would have been too big for my grandma's really small hands. But yeah, I think if I was to make these for myself, I have slightly bigger hands, so I would do probably 2.5mm needles just so they're less snug. And yeah, I have this green yarn to maybe make myself some with the white or any other colorwork mitten. I fell in love with colorwork doing this process, so if you guys have any recommendations for colorwork mittens, let me know. You can definitely make these mittens using magic loop or DPNs, but I just thought as my first colorwork project I wanted to make it as easy as possible, so I decided to do the sock needles so I just didn't have to worry about learning magic loop and DPNs, and yeah, just like the extra hassle that comes with that. But yeah, this is what my needles look like. You can't really see because they're still on my project. I really liked that they had a nice, I feel like a little beauty YouTuber, but they had a nice like sharp tip, so it was easy to pick up my stitches. And yeah, they worked really well. I wish I could recommend you the brand, but I bought them from like this really sketchy site without a label and without like a brand, so yeah, but they worked fine. But yeah, this was a big project for me. It was a big step up from my other knits. It was my first time ever doing color work, my first time knitting on needles smaller than 4.5mm. It was my first time making gloves and, you know, figuring out how to do the thumb gusset and the whole construction. And yeah, it was also my first gift knit, so it was a lot of firsts for me. Also, before we get into the rest of the video, I just wanted to say that I did start filming this quite into the process of making these mittens, and as I was editing I realized that it was kind of confusing what the construction of the mitten is actually like, because the video was just goes straight into me partway through the process because I hadn't yet made a YouTube channel, and so I wasn't even thinking about filming. But I just wanted to give a bit of context into the construction of these mittens so that you can kind of understand the following clips and like the process. This is what the finished mitten looks like. Basically the construction is you work some 1x1 rib, knitting and purling for a couple of rows, then you work on the cuff and just follow the colorwork grid. You continue then with the body, picking up some stitches every now and then to form the thumb gusset, and then eventually you put 15 I think stitches on hold on some waste yarn to pick up later for the thumb. You then continue the rest of the mitten body. You do some decreasing at the top. I use DPNs for this part, and then that's the mitten body complete. Then you pick up the stitches for the thumb, work the thumb, do some decreasing at the top, and you're done. And yeah, I thought I would just explain the construction because I start the video having completed, I think it's about like this much of the mitten, and there's no kind of context. But yeah, that's all. Alright, I'm sat down here outside. a little bit of a grey day today, but I got so sunburned at the beach. Have my coffee and my knitting. This is what I have done so far. I'm hoping I can maybe finish the rest of the mitten, not the thumb gusset, just like the rest of the main part. It might be a little bit ambitious because I still have quite a lot to do. I think I'm on row like 45 or something, and there's like 68 total rows of the like from here to the top. So yeah, that might be a little bit ambitious, but we'll see how much I can get done. Alright, I'm back sitting outside to do some more knitting. It's the next day. I didn't get very far yesterday with finishing the mitten. I only just started doing the decreasing, which you can kind of see slowly going in now. But yeah, because I'm decreasing, I'm getting fewer and fewer stitches on my needles. So I'm gonna have to go over and start using my DPNs. So that will be my first time, which is a little bit intimidating. The DPNs I'm using, if you're curious, are these Knit Pro ones by the collection Ginger. It's like a wooden needle, I'm pretty sure, but they're quite sturdy because they're encased in this kind of hard plasticky film. And I'm hoping to finish this mitten like I was planning to do yesterday, just minus the thumb. So finishing all my decreasing and getting to the kind of finished point. Also, I'm sitting outside and it's very thundery and rainy, but it's kind of a cozy vibe. I have my coffee here to keep me going, and my computer here with my, you can't really see, but I have my computer here with the pattern, so I'm all set up. Hey guys, so I'm filming this actually on Christmas Day, and I managed to get one whole mitten done before Christmas. Unfortunately, I couldn't get two done because of my poor time management, but I told my grandma that I'll get the next mitten to her in the next few days, that she was really excited to receive it nonetheless. So this is what the finished left mitten is looking like. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. The DPNs were honestly really difficult to use, especially when I was working on the mitten body. I found it really confusing and difficult. It was a lot harder than I was expecting. Just like keeping, track of holding all of the needles at the same time. And yeah, when I dropped a stitch, it was really annoying to put the stitches back onto the needles. But I figured it out, and it got a lot easier when I was working on the thumb. My tension is definitely not perfect if you look closely. This side is a lot neater than the bird, I think, because you only change colors like every maximum 3 stitches in one color at a time, so I feel like it's easier to kind of keep track of the tension than when you have to work like 10 or 11 stitches in the same color at once. For the bird side, yeah, the DPNs worked out pretty well for me. They were a little bit slippery, so I kept dropping them on the floor, and sometimes all of my loops would just come off the needles and then I'd have to like put them back on, and it was a bit annoying, but I think that was mainly my fault, not on the DPN's fault. And yeah, when I first picked these mittens, I wasn't entirely like sold on the pointed design. Usually I'm, like and wear mittens that are more rounded. I know these are for my grandma, but like she's kind of the same. I haven't seen her wear pointed mittens before, but I think these are really cool and something different, and they've grown on me a lot. Thankfully they fit her really well, so yeah, she was really happy to receive these, and it was so fun to give them to her. I was a bit nervous about the thumb because I haven't picked up stitches a lot before, especially on this tiny area with such small stitches. I was a bit like, I didn't really know what I was doing and where I should be picking up the stitches, but it all honestly worked out pretty well. And I really like the flower design on the thumb. I think it's so cute. I did also mess up this little shape here. It's supposed to be purple, white, purple for the diamond, and I just did 3 purple in a row, so it looks kind of odd, but anyway, that's a small detail. So now I just have to finish the second mitten. I made a little bit of progress. I started the 1x1 rib, which is, the cuff part of the mitten. And it's definitely a lot easier doing the purling on these tiny needles. I've feel like I've gotten used to it after doing this mitten. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep chugging along, see how far I can get. I'm really hoping to finish this in like 3-4 days would be ideal. So yeah, I've got a lot of work to do, but I think it will fly by a lot faster than the other mitten because I'm not having to learn anything, I'm just having to copy it. Hey guys, it's a couple days later and I actually finished the whole mitten. I'm sorry I haven't given more updates in the making of this. I was knitting a lot throughout like our Christmas celebrations because my cousin also knits, so her and I were just knitting and chatting. So yeah, I didn't film anything throughout that process. And yeah, I just kind of flew by this mitten. It went by really fast, so I didn't really think to like pick up my camera and film stuff. This is the finished mitten. So now I have a full set. And I'm so happy with how these turned out, especially the second mitten. My tension is really neat. Well, relative to the first mitten, my tension is a lot better. I think I just got comfortable with knitting one color continental style and the other English style. And yeah, I got comfortable with the pattern. And so everything just kind of fell into place a lot better with this mitten. There are so many mistakes, so if you look closely, it's kind of like playing spot the difference because yeah, if you look closely, there's quite a few. But just for an example, I accidentally did one row twice. So the branch looks a lot thicker here in that mitten than in this one, if you look closely. Also, this bird has more white there compared to this one, which has only one row. This branch is detached somehow and this one is not. So yeah, there's quite a few mistakes. But I think that just adds to the fact that these are a homemade gift. So I'm really not fussed with these mistakes and they're so small, like if I didn't point them out, people probably wouldn't even notice. I'll just put them on so you can see what they look like as mittens. But yeah, they're so cool. I really want to make a pair for myself actually, because I have so much of the white yarn left over and I bought the same style yarn, the Drops Flora yarn, in this green and blue color. So yeah, I'm deciding between those two colors which I would want to have my own mittens in, or if I want to just make a different design even. But yay! To give some tips for making these mittens, I would really highly recommend learning two-handed knitting, so knitting with one strand continental and the other English style, because it just makes the process so much faster. When it was kind of difficult at first knitting the two colors simultaneously, but I think it is a really great skill to have, especially like, you know, if you want to do more color work in the future like me. So yeah, I would recommend giving that a go. Also, I recommend, like, this might be common sense, all of this might be common sense to people, but I would have my pattern, so the row that I was working on was at the top of my screen, and then when I finished that row I would just scroll up on my computer to the next line. And that just sounds so small, but I was not doing that at all for the first mitten. I had the whole pattern open and was kind of guessing about where I was up to. So that really made the process a lot easier. Or alternatively, like printing out the pattern I think would be really helpful next time, and like crossing out which row I had done just so I wouldn't get confused. Might do that for my next project. One thing I struggled with even on my second mitten was the puckering. You can see that when I moved to DPNs especially, like the puckering gets a bit worse. There's less kind of uniformity in how the fabric looks. But yeah, I would recommend spreading out your stitches very frequently. That way the floats don't get too tight, and that seemed to help me with avoiding the puckering. But yeah, it's not perfect, but I still think when I block it, which I haven't done yet, it might even add a little bit more. Another tip I recommend for the thumbs is I was using 3 DPNs for a while. Like I had divided up my stitches onto 3 needles and then was knitting with another, and I think that just overcomplicated things, so I ended up putting all of my stitches onto 2 needles and then knitting those with a third. And I found that helped me knit a lot quicker because I was only keeping track of 3 needles at a time instead of 4, and I really didn't need to have them on more than 2 needles. There was a little bit of tension when I was knitting the last 3 stitches on the needle, but honestly it was fine, and I think it was a good choice because I was just dropping all of my stitches all the time when I was working with 4 needles, so that helped me a lot with the thumb. Also, I recommend tying a knot when you finish the thumb and you finish the top of the mitten, because the way it works is you have like I think 10 stitches on your needle at the end, and then you cut the thread and weave it through with a darning needle, and then yeah, that basically closes up the hole. But I recommend tying the purple and the white thread together just to kind of secure it, because I found actually that in my left mitten I hadn't done this, and I was like wearing it for a little while and showing my grandma it, and then I looked back at the mitten and it had kind of loosened at the top, so tying a knot helps to keep it more secure. I would say those are my tips. They might all be very obvious to you, but that's kind of what I learned throughout the process. And yeah, I was just really enjoyed making these. I can't wait to make another pair for myself. and also to just keep working on color work because I find it so engaging and it's really good for my brain. Just having each row be slightly different, it keeps it engaging and fun. So I think I'm always going to keep a color work project on the go. But yeah, that was all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe, and also let me know what you're knitting below. I would love to hear about it, especially if you're making mittens as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!